I turned on YouTube and I found like these, middle-aged English lady watercolor instructional videos where they're like painting, like really lush, kind of gauzy roses and, woodland creatures, and they're incredibly charming and incredibly relaxing. And I thought, this is the coolest thing ever. So bust these things up in my little 100 square foot basement, no windows. And I'm just following along, watching the TV. It's utterly synthetic, but yet I'm kind of like inhabiting like all these different vistas, and it's kind of its own weird synthetic nature experience. So that kind of morphs into like floral wallpaper and Victorian ideas of flower arranging, and again, it kind of ties into like suburbia, like Pottery Barn, and where you go to get your wallpaper. Like I grew up in Texas, where even the most middle class homes are really well taken care of, and there's just like this abundance of like domesticity. I use those motifs to populate my ideas of nature in a way.
I think through my work, I am interested in how we create data around mystery, using these theories and hypotheses to explain big things that we truly don't know, and finding that area of question that is just unknowable. And I find curiosity and almost humor in coming up with solutions to those questions. Like, okay, the sea snails are explaining how the universe works. Why does it have to be the humans that are coming up with these theories, What is the hierarchy of truth? Who is determining that? I come at my own practice with a sense of wonder, and that's what I want my viewers to experience too. I sit and I just think, what would be the coolest thing to go in and experience, and how can I then make that happen?
There are elements in the city that we all get to experience together, but we all have our own personal feelings about them, and the way they show themselves was really interesting to me. I kind of think of them as portraits now, instead of landscapes, where it's I'm trying to capture the character of this object that has very rich history, its own object history, that has graffiti or stickers, or just it's got bashed holes in it or something. I love that stuff. It tells its own story. A lot of it is also kind of self-portrayal in a weird way. Some of the works I've written messages or things about myself and then erased them. Or there's a push and pull of messaging that gets covered up. So it's hiding kind of those aspects, which I think a lot of people do, especially in regards to mental health. People tend to hide or mask those things. Those are feelings that you have when you feel you're alone, and so at least having an object to look at can say all right, well, I'm not that lonely.
I do very colorful things. events, but thinking about it more intentionally, if I paint people in the colors that I view them as, what do these colors mean? What does it mean to you? Like, what does it mean in a visual sense? For example, like the color red, we would associate with like love or rage, but it also has a psychological thing that does to the body. The color red also makes you hungry. So colors do make you feel a certain type of way. And I'm just kind of thinking about like how do people view themselves in like a colorful way that you can feel like something, but maybe it represents something else, but maybe it represents something that's more kind of like true to you yourself. Most of them, I'm like, okay, so if that's what you think your color is, then that's what I'm going to do. People I know better, I'm like, okay, this is your color. I see myself as pink.
I'm trying to create different plates that have the different animals of the Chinese zodiac. And there's 12 animals total. And one of my core memories as a kid is going to the Chinese restaurant on Chinese New Year, and they give you the little red, white, and gold placemat, and they'd be like, here's some crayons and color on it. So last summer I made a facsimile of that, or kind of my own copy of that, and now I'm trying to make animals that will look similar. I'm painting with cobalt, which is traditionally used in Delft pottery. It all looks gray and black and white. It will look blue, but this is a test of the kinds you just brought me. It's my first time doing it, and I think that cobalt has a really rich history that is also problematic in a lot of ways. But I am genuinely really interested in the color and the history of it that comes in within Chinese pottery and colonization. I feel like I want my work to be accessible to all different age groups. And something that someone once said was that my work is childish and it can appeal to children. And at the time I was like, what do they mean? And now I feel like I'm really kind of leaning into that, and I'm totally fine with it. And if a kid loves my artwork, that makes me feel so happy.
Oh, I love the dimension of this. Isn't that cool?
Yeah. I'm doing what I've been thinking about doing for 2 years, which is exciting. I'm looking at blocks that are hanging in the quilt at Arch Street Meeting House, which was a quilt made by a bunch of women who were hired to work in this consortium that was put together by Quaker Women's in the late 19th century after the Civil War. And so this woman who put it together in their appreciation made this giant quilt. When I saw the quilt, I started getting into quilting because it's so hot right now, but it's also so fun. I was like, oh wait, there's this history with it in Arch Street, so how can I kind of just combine those two, and thinking about the women who made this quilt, what they experienced in their life and what I've experienced in mine. There's an interesting dichotomy of working really hard on a painting and a portrait and making it look pretty good and then cutting it out. It feels kind of like a good fuck you to the person you spent so much time looking at.
My name means praise, so I feel like that's very much at the core of my being is praise. I kind of started doing paper cuts because I was in Rome and I was seeing all these beautiful, beautiful designs everywhere. They really just have such an appreciation of time. I think we're moving so quickly, and it's nice in anything, when we give something more time and more appreciation, or we sit with things a little longer, or we allow our eyes to adjust, we're able to gain a deeper appreciation. Art has this really unique opportunity to allow us to exist differently in the spaces we already are. Not only do paper cuts have shadow, but the shadow moves, and maybe it's collaborating with what's already in the room. So it allows time and space to also have a relationship. I also have to trust the decisions that I'm making, and that it will come together, because it's really it's a blank piece of paper, and then it becomes something.
We're all so worried about breaking glass all of the time. So it's the perfect stand-in for some sort of like calamity or incident or trauma. On here, right? Like this is all the same metal. I've removed the like coating that's placed onto steel to prevent it from rusting equally on each piece, and yet there are parts that have clearly had water on them that have not rusted. And then there are parts that, aren't even touching the metal, that because of the sort of leaching process of the metal within the water have actually transformed as though they're touching steel. So I think like every time I make something, part of the joy that I get from it is the unpredictability and then the little surprises and magic that not only like make me excited about that work, but usually get me interested in what I can do next. At Tyler, they have this poster that the program head hung up that just says, "Be kind, everyone's going through something that they don't speak about." You can see what kind of person stands before you, or you can see the results. Like my entire personality is the sum of everything that I've been through, but you don't generally know what all of those things are. Even in removing the layers of this incident, like the fact that the tracery is still there, I may never know what caused it, but I can see that there's something. And I think that's, that speaks to me very naturally of humanity and everything we all deal with.
Four ladies are very representative of a lot of different things. They could be spring, summer, fall, and winter. They can be the four winds. They were synesthesia paintings based on specific fragrances. There's this beautiful store up in Lambertville. It's called Foxy Red. And we go in there every now and then, and they love our dog, Rocky. Everybody loves Rocky. And we started talking. I was smelling some of the fragrances that she had. And I'm smelling it. I just close my eyes and I can just see the whole image of what the fragrance is, my synesthesia. And I was just like there, just kind of dazed, smelling one like this. And she goes, "You want to wear that, don't you?" I said, "No, I want to paint it." And she goes, "Are you available on September 21st to come paint bottles? We're having a private perfume launch." And I went, "Sure." And I never painted glass before. So I had to practice and do research on how to paint on glass. Trial and error, and I finally got a great process. And painting on glass is so therapeutic because it's got such a feel to the paint. It's less purposeful. It's more of a free flow. The artist and the medium is total dialogue.